Wow, I thought you would have just went from 1 to 5. Okay.
No. That's where the difference lies. Because of that, so it used to be when that did happen, Merlin and I guess his wife, you could probably say, though they don't quite go into that, took down the demon that did that, a person that did that. So that's why they became famous, and why everyone knows them. Now his grandson, quote unquote grandson, does the same thing. But it's because somebody artificially created a person to do that, basically. They triggered somebody to get into that state. Okay. And because of that, his grandson had to take him down. Didn't want to, because he was actually one of his classmates, but he still had to take him down. So all that cool. All that great. The guy in the background, the guy in the very top in the background, the white hair and everything, yes, he's the main protagonist. Or the antagonist, sorry. Oh, okay. So he's the main guy that everyone's going after, because he is actually a demon, but he's a demon unlike all the other ones because he still has control of his faculties. And then what he's doing is he's actually causing other people to go into that state. Okay. So he's like artificially creating it, basically.
Yes, he's one of those wants to watch the world burn people.
Correct. Now, they did a little bit of backstory into his life, which was cool. But here again, this is where I don't know if you can necessarily say it's Silverlink's fault or just because of the material they have to work with or whatever. But here's where I feel like the story starts kind of faltering, because even though you have this cool person that everyone's coming up against and trying to take out, his backstory was so predictable, it was boring. Oh. It was seriously like, I honestly, the episode came apart where they told it, I skipped parts. Just because I'm like, yep, I know it's going to happen. Yep, yep, know it's going to happen. Yep. He was he was part of the nobility. He was a lord of a manor, and he cared about his subjects. But he was actually treating them well in comparison to other lords who treated their subjects like peasants, basically. And because of that, more people were coming to his fiefdom and leaving other lords. And of course, the other lords didn't like that.
Yep.
So they set him up. They go, okay, let's tell him that the king wants to hear about his plans and how he does things. So we'll have him leave his fiefdom to go to the castle to quote unquote talk with the king, whereas while he's gone, we'll mess up everything he has, including the fact that he had a wife who was pregnant, and essentially they ended up killing her. And it happened right when he got back, and the guards there were accusing him of all these other things, and essentially it just caused him to snap. And it's like, yep, I saw that coming. I even if I didn't know what the end result was going to be anyways, I still saw that coming.
Hey guys, y'all can't do that in the same season as Shield Hero. You either gotta outdo him or don't do it at all.
I think this is going to be one of those situations where you have a lot of similarities between the two, and because of that, this gets outshined so badly.
It does. So I'm like, oh,
so badly.
So did he not fall into the evil power and save the day? No, he fell into it. Okay.
Yeah, he just fell into it and said, "Screw you guys." So his original intention was he only wanted to take out the kingdom that he had been a part of. He wanted to burn that kingdom to the ground. So he basically changed all the peasants and everyone into demons, and then they went and charged the castle and killed the king, and just took out all the nobility, along the way. And then he was going to be like, I'm good, I'm fine, I have no qualms with anyone else. I am going to sit my butt here in the throne room, and I'm done. That's all I wanted to do. And then one of his subjects is like, well, we have this army of demons now. Why don't we go and attack other kingdoms? And he was like, nah, I really don't want to. You guys do whatever you want.
No.
So they did. And they attacked the kingdom where Merlin's grandson is. See where that goes.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be one of my biggest complaints, the predictability of this. Like, there was nothing, they didn't bring anything new to the table. I didn't feel like. You're like, you know, the demon thing is kind of cool and all, and having Merlin's name in there is kind of cool and all, but
Yeah.
beyond that, you really didn't bring a whole lot to the table.
And it's like, would that be fine if it was in its season all by itself, not next to Shield Hero?
I think I might have looked at it a little better, but I still don't think I would have like given it as high a praise as I would have like Shield Hero.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's still predictable. So
it's still predictable. And then the other thing is too is that okay, so one of the things they even have in the description of this is saying about how he lacks common sense. His grandson is a powerful magician capable of this phenomenal magic, which he does time and time again. You know, he's the what do they call it? It's not necessarily a trump card, but like the ex machina.
Oh.
He's like the ex machina of the show, basically. When everyone's starting to get bogged down and no one knows what to do or can't do anything, he comes in and he fixes it. And I'm like, all right, well, it's done. All right, cool. You know, but
like
then
Goku. Everyone's all like, Goku, when are you gonna be here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm here.
And they're like, all right, we're good. Everything's fine now. And it's kind of the same way. But the thing that I think is really also bogged us down is that they had to involve a love story. And it's not like, you know, a lot of this where they're like, oh, boy meets girl. They kind of have a thing for each other. And we're going to develop this over time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This was within the first, or actually, no, the second episode, because the second episode is when he actually goes to the big city. He meets her. I want to say 6 episodes later, they're betrothed. I don't think I have seen an anime go that fast into a love soiree than this one, unless it was literally just a romance anime. And even then, they're still like, we're gonna span this over like 24 episodes. We're gonna have like little things happen here and there. They're like, nah, screw it. They're getting married. We're like, what? We literally spent an entire episode just on that.
Well,
and I'm like, come on.
I'm like, what about slime? Like,
but see, with slime,
because they were like hinting at it. Like ever since that fortune teller was like,
yeah,
you're gonna meet your true one.
Your one true love.
Yeah,
but
he's like,
died within like 2 episodes after that.
Okay.
You know,
yeah,
so it's like, no, and they didn't get married. he just felt things for her. Like, all right, well, I care about you. That's as far as it should have gone. Not within like 4 or 5 episodes being like, hey, we're getting married. How about that? Hey, what do you know? I know there's a whole bunch of demons running rampant, but you know what? You want to get married? The language of romance. You know, I'm like, there's. So I guess okay. So my 2 biggest qualms with this show: too predictable.
Yes.
Too predictable with the storyline. Too predictable with the characters. We have so many tropes going on with these characters. It's ridiculous. And the pacing of this show is way off.
As
If
far
if
as
if, if they were gonna have them two get together and eventually get married, that should happen. Like if they do another season, that should have happened like towards the end of the second season, when
no build up.
when we're done with the threat of extermination to humanity through demons.
Yeah.
And we have time to do this. Now's not the time to do this. You know what I mean? They're in the middle of a camp training themselves to be better magicians. And that's when they decide they're going to get married.
So,
and I'm like, come on.
Yeah. So comparing this to Sword Art Online, I could see, because basically they kind of took a break and were like, Kirito and Asuna, they're like, we're stuck in here. We may die at any moment. They're like, let's excuse ourselves from the battle for a little bit, take care of ourselves, and then go back.
That seemed natural, though.
Yeah.
Like, there was reasonings behind it.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's a possibility that we're going to die. I mean, out of all the isekai animes, that one probably has the best plot with the characters as far as that goes, because even the main character can die out of nowhere. You know, you make a mistake or you literally go below your HP. If you're not paying attention to it or something, you will die. You know, that was the big thing about that.
Yeah.
Here we have the grandson of Merlin, who literally creates a cavern like One Punch Man with one of his spells. You remember the cavern in One Punch Man in the first season when him and Genos were sparring together, basically? They were in the mountains, and then One Punch Man goes to punch him because he finally decides to take it seriously for just like a half a second. And he pauses right before he hits Genos, and the blast from the wind that came afterwards was enough to annihilate and make a basically a chasm behind him from a mountain that was there. That's what this guy does, essentially. It's a sight to behold, don't get me wrong. And even everyone else is like, oh my God, how did you freaking do that? Because it's interesting in as far as the spells go, because he's like, he actually is taking things in our world, like he's using science almost. And he's crafting spells accordingly and causing these giant monumental things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, I'm going to, even, I think at one point he was even saying it, like he's mentally, he's taking air elements and combining them with like some fire. Like he made just a giant explosion that literally cleared a forest almost.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh my God, what the hell?
So,
and it's like, I don't feel like I don't feel like we're knocking on death's door like we were on Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online, we were knocking on death's door every episode.
Yeah.
This, I haven't felt like the main characters in any sort of danger from the word go. He may had to have struggled a little bit harder than some, because in certain cases, but he still hasn't had a point where he might die. So as far as him being like, hey, you know what? I feel like we might die, so I like you, you like me. Can we, let's just go ahead and make this official. That's kind of like where I felt like that was going with Sword Art.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, Sword Art, they didn't even do that till like halfway through the season, right?
I need to go back and watch it.
Like I'm saying, like they
yeah, it was well into it.
They developed that thing well into it, Here we're just like, after 8 episodes, we're already betrothed, and I'm like, excuse me. I mean, okay, I get cut into the chase, but god damn. So
I know the series is almost over, but could you give it a couple of weeks?
Yeah. Could we develop this a little bit more before we decide that we're gonna? I mean, shoot. I think you put a whole bunch of other animes to shame in that regards.
Yeah, I can see becoming boyfriend and girlfriend, but y'all
Yeah.
are like tying the knot. Jeez.
Yeah. No, they just go straight to like we're getting betrothed, and I'm like, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you recommend this show, excluding all the other stuff that's gone? Like, I kind of feel like better shows this season have like tainted my opinion of this one.
For someone who enjoys fantasy, I would say yes.
Okay.
I could recommend you this just because there are some good points to it. There are some good and interesting things that happen. Battle sequences are great. Like I said, his magic is awesome. I enjoy that stuff. But for someone who I would say like you, who's not necessarily a big fantasy buff when it comes to stuff like that, no.
Okay.
I would say there are better fantasy shows out there that you can watch than this one.
Okay.
So
I'd say from your first impressions, did it go the way that you thought it was going to go, and did you kind of predict how it was going to go, like how it was going to end, or has it ended?
no.
Oh, yeah. So
Well, I mean, the first season has ended. They're already, because I want to say, yeah, it was only 12 episodes, and it ended on the 26th of June. So first season has ended. They haven't ended the storyline though, because things are still going on.
Okay.
Which is why that's why I think it irks me so much, because it's like, wait, you ended the season, but you obviously had intentions on potentially going further with it, because you didn't necessarily end the whole thing. You just ended a season. So if that's the case,
stopped.
that love story you should have developed that more. You should have expanded that more. Not just been like, hey, they're in love. Let's tie a knot kind of thing. That's gonna irk me the entire time, I swear.
Okay.
But that's why I'm just like, come on. If it was gonna be done within the first season and they have no intention of continuing it, then sure, why not? But it still just seemed awkward. It really did. So did it go the way I thought it was going to? Kind of, yeah.
So I'm saying
I didn't,
guess
because they didn't necessarily mention anything about demons, people turning into demons or stuff like that. They had to kind of explain that as the story went on.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he is the protagonist and he is so powerful that he can literally do these complicated spells or, combat moves or whatever with ease while still being completely dumb to other things. Yes. I mean, that in their description pretty much nailed it on the head on that one. So,
okay. Who's your favorite character?
I would have to say the main protagonist, Shin Wolfwood.
Okay.
He, like I said, he makes these complicated things seem like nothing.
So he's more. I would say. Do you think he's more clever than like tactics? Because I know you like the tactics guys.
He is. He. I think because he's clever in the way that he develops his understanding of magic. Because even Merlin, when he was talking to his fellow classmates about how he does magic, said his understanding of it is on a different level than anyone I've ever come across. Even to what Merlin himself knows as far as magic goes.
Okay. So when you were talking about that he kind of uses science and stuff like that in the magic, do you like comparing him to like the average magic user? Is it kind of like they're like mix water and this, and they mix together. And he's like, there's hydrogen and oxygen inside water, and then this has
Yep.
these elements, and then if you
That's
combine them, it's
that's
like physics behind it.
exactly what he's doing.
Okay.
That's exactly what he's doing. Because I think he has an understanding of science from our world
Yeah.
and knew of that and still retain those memories. He's able to do things like that, whereas someone might go, well, all you're doing is combining water and this other material here and creating a giant explosion. He's like, no, no, no. I'm taking the hydrogen from this and I'm using he'd go on to this like huge thing, and at the end of it everyone would just look at him like with this blank look in their eyes, so they're just like, what? What did you even say?
Didn't y'all take physics 101? Come on,
Yeah,
guys.
basically. And he even has one of the spells he does early on is a gateway, where he actually create a gateway to connect 2 points. Okay. So everyone's like, you're teleporting. And he's like, no, I'm not teleporting. I'm basically shrinking the distance between the 2 points together, so that way when you walk through the doorway on one end, you'll exit the doorway in another location.
Yeah, it's like wormhole.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's what I say. His understanding and his way of doing things is completely different than anyone in this world even considers.
Okay.
And then because of that, he can do these amazing things, which is really cool. But,
Okay.
So.
Well, I would ask what's your favorite part, but I think you covered it earlier. Was there something that was like really cool that happened, or?
Kind of looking back at the episodes real quick to kind of give myself a quick refresher. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of, in a sense, did kind of cover it, because his, I'm gonna say the reason why he blew up the forest was because there was, and this is kind of why I like this too. They have an understanding that magicians typically are not, like, they're good in the fact of being a magician.
Mm-hmm.
And they need knights to go with magicians and work together, so that way when it comes to the physical context of it, the knights will handle it and the magicians will kind of be the support and the heavy hitters if all else fails, kind of thing. So they were doing a training exercise where they had some of the novice magicians and some of the novice knights group together and go into the forest and take out an animal that had become a demon, kind of thing.
Okay.
And it came to a point where, like, he every one of his friends were like, "Oh, this is gonna suck," and he's like, "Why?" And it's because there's an animosity between the two. Like, magicians think, "Oh, you're just a grunt. You can't do the fine little things that we can do," and the knights are like, "Well, you're just a weakling who can't even properly handle a weapon, let alone da. Whereas Shin Wolfwood actually can do both.
Yeah.
And it was funny because so they were trying to do these exercises, and he sensed an approaching, like, way more than what normally would have been. And it turns out there was a tiger that had gone demonoid, and it was a huge freaking tiger.
Like that boar, right?
Huh?
Like that boar that he attacked the first episode?
Even bigger.
Oh.
Yeah, his thing was huge. So much so that there were other demon animals. It was scaring them in front of him, kind of thing. So literally, it was a stampede of demonoid animals coming right at them. And everyone was freaking out. Now, mind you, each one of these parties had adults. Like, they were like, so his party actually had the the main magician that you saw in the very first episode, that was supposedly the one to the king basically, and the knight who was actually the protector of the king as well, who both knew Shin. They both had been, because they were there in the very beginning. They both trained and done stuff with him and all that. And all the other kids were freaking out because they're like, "There's no way we can handle this many. We need like a freaking squad of like 6 or 7 different squads to be able to even come close to handling this." And Shin just steps forward and goes to the other 2 and goes, "Can I handle this?" And they're like, "Yeah, just try to be careful. Keep the damage to a minimum if you can." And he was like, "All right." And then that's when he does his magic and does his spiel with, he's elemental combining and putting these things together, and you see all these crazy like wind things going on around him, and everyone's just like, "What the hell?" And then it's just like, shoot, that up, I guess, because I don't think you saw how not to summon a demon lord.
The very beginning of it.
Okay, so you only saw the beginning. I would say it comes close to what Genos did in One Punch Man when they went to the guy's laboratory, and Saitama was counting all the levels of all the, like, he goes, "Oh, there's 12 levels," and Genos just like, screw this, and does his blast and literally annihilates the entire building with a giant blast radius coming out from around that. And Saitama was just standing there going, "That was kind of rude, wasn't it? I mean, we didn't even give him a chance to like do anything with it and everything." That was kind of like what he did in the end of that, where it was just like this giant blast radius, and literally, because there were like all these trees and everything, because they were literally in the middle of the forest. And then when they pan back the screen, it's like half the forest is just gone. And you're like, all right.
That's minimum?
Yeah. Yeah. And they looked at him. So the students, both the knights and the magicians, were looking at him like the draw kind of jaw look. And the other two adults looked at him and go, kind of come up to him and smack him upside the head and go, "That was too much."
Good job.
I appreciate the work you put into that, but that was too much. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'd say if this does get a second season, I may return to it. Not sure, but that show's on the fence. There's some shows that are like just on the other side, and I'm like, see y'all later. But this one's like on the fence for me. So, if I had more time, I think it was on my list of stuff to watch. Like out of the top 9, it was in the top 6 for me. So if I had enough time to watch 6, then I would have watched it. So if it comes out again, and I have a better set of time, I may catch back up with it. But the next show we're gonna be talking about is Kimetsu no Yaiba or Demon Slayer.
I think out of this show and Shield Hero probably are like my top 2, and it's really hard to say which one comes out above. It really is.
I really wanted to watch this one.
This one's really good. I mean, and it's continuing into this next season too, because it has 24 episodes.
Perfect.
So it is continuing into this. It's not done by any stretch of the means.
Okay.
And oh god, yeah, no, this really, and you know how much of a fan of fantasy I am, and to say that this contends with Shield Hero for me, I mean, that's I'm putting it up there.
Okay, so let's go through the points, and then we'll. Okay, so first, would you recommend this show? I want to say absolutely.
Highly. Highly recommend this show.
Like the UFO table, and this is like one of the best shows. Like
There
this
is
show,
no question in my mind.
this show is so good that it got Shade to watch a UFO table show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, amazing art style, action packed.
Okay,
Absolutely check it out.
Art style above all else was just gorgeous. When he does his moves, because he has each person has their own. So each demon slayer has their own teacher, and each teacher has their own style.
Okay.
So his teacher was all about water as far as an element to base all of his moves on. So anytime he ever does any of his moves, the water, you actually see water personified in the move itself. And the actual design of it, they took off of what you would see on like those the Japanese walls, like the traditional a Japanese wall scroll kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have that very long gated mural almost kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you see on that. And I'm like, that's cool. That and above else, I'm like, that is freaking awesome. Love that shit. Because it's such a stark contrast. Even, I mean, the animation itself is good on its own. But then again, when you throw that in there, it contrasts the other animations so well that it just draws you in. So that in and of itself, awesome. Animation was 100% great. Loved it. The characters, here again, I love the characters.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard one on this one. That's a hard one on this one. So they only just recently introduced the boar-headed guy, and you got to see the blonde guy a little because he was in the exams to become a demon slayer that the main kid was. But it's only been recently that he's been more of an actual staple in the show. I kind of don't like his character, the blonde-haired one. I will say, only because he kind of has that trope where he is deathly afraid of demons, hates his job, hates the fact that. So the only reason why he became a demon slayer was because apparently he got into debt and he got thrown in as a way of paying it off. He had to train under this his sensei, who each one, including the one that you follow, they're very harsh, but they're very harsh for a reason. It's like you have to be phenomenal at what you do in order to survive this, because holy crap, the things you got to put yourself through. But he has that personality of I don't want to be here. He's constantly complaining, almost in tears half the time, and crying. And at one point, like where they're at right now, I think is like in a house of a demon or whatever. And he has this kid who he's supposed to be protecting, who he's literally clinging to for dear life, saying, "Don't leave me, don't leave me. This is scary. Don't leave me." And you're just like, oh God. Up to that point, I was like, please, somebody just kill him. Somebody kill him.
Or someone fire him.
Yeah. just demon, kill him. I don't care. But then he passes out. He faints, basically. And then his training kicks in. He's unconscious, so he's not aware of what he's doing, but his training kicked in. And all of a sudden, he's a badass.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, okay, that was cool, but goddamn, if we got to put up with you being a whiny little oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Every time a demon is even mentioned, the first time you come across him after the training that they do, I guess he's on the road, and the kid in the checkered jacket comes across him. He's on the road begging this woman to marry him because he feels like he's gonna die and he wants to be married before he dies. And I'm like, oh God, just slice his head off or something. I don't know. Just that is so bad and pathetic and just oh God. But setting those two aside, just because it's 12 episodes. Actually, it's I think 14 episodes now, and we've only just now gotten back to them.
Oh.
To me, that's great pacing because we're not like focused on them. We're developing things as we go, and I'm like,
Nice.
awesome, freaking amazing. The other two, I have a hard time saying who I like more between the brother and sister. I really do, because both of them are so kick-ass in so many different ways. I love the characters in so many different ways. Okay, so the guy, he is determined. He has just the absolute determination and drive that you feel for. It pulls you in as a person. You're like, you want him to succeed. You're like, dude, you got to do it, man. Come on, pull through. He's kind of the underdog, but he's not quite the underdog.
Yeah.
But he's to that point where you're just like, you feel for him in that regards. You're just like, oh God, dude, you got it. You got to be able to do this, Because you saw the first episode.
Yeah.
Right? So like that whole thing with like him throwing the axe when the demon slayer was trying to kill his sister.
Yeah.
But he did it in such a way that even the demon slayer didn't notice till it almost pretty much cut his head off essentially.
Yeah.
And that's like that determination, that drive, because when that happens, I've watched a couple of reactions from people from that, and everyone's just like, yes, that was kick-ass, dude, amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that was freaking amazing. Here you have someone who's not trained, barely knows anything about fighting, and he was able to do that. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And then you have his sister, who is, by all sense of the stretch of the means, she is absolutely adorable. I love her as a character. From the very beginning, when you felt for her, when he was trying to plead with her, and when the two of them were on the ground, and you could see tears coming from her eyes because she knew what she was doing but had no control. To later on, she does just the absolute most. Yeah, I was going to say she probably is going to be your favorite character going forward. I don't know, how many episodes have you watched? Just the one, or okay? Going forward, she's probably going to be your favorite character. I can almost say,
Okay.
just because she does adorable things.
Okay.
Later on, when he has her go into a basket, so that way they can travel, he's like, "All right, come on to the basket." Can you? And she goes in, and she went in head first, and like half of her is still sticking out, and she's just kind of like, I don't know. And you're like, oh, come on. And he's like, can you shrink down? And eventually she does, and she actually fits inside the basket. But it was, and then later on, they come across a demon doctor. And long story in that, I won't go too much into that because I don't want to spoil anything with regards to that. But they're at their house, and she literally, like, I guess she liked the feel of the tatami mat that they were on the flooring or something, because she flops down on the floor, and she's just kind of like rolling, like doing little kid things. You're just like,
yeah.
That's adorable. But then again, when a demon comes around, she kicks major ass. Very first demon they come across after, I think, the first episode, not to go too much into that, but she literally kicks his head off. like
All right.
being off, and you're just like, damn, no hesitation in that whatsoever. We're just gonna go straight forward. All right, cool. Oh, and then later on, at one point, the demon doctor, or I guess her brother, or I don't even know the relationship, couldn't even say for sure, but he got pissed off at the guy in the checkered jacket and says that his sister was ugly.
Oh yeah.
And the look on her face, where like all of a sudden it goes from like the normal eyes to like she gets the like squiggly little eyes that are like halfway almost to crying. I'm like, oh man, how could you say that? Look at her, she's adorable. Um, yeah, I don't know. Between those two characters, I have a hard time saying which one I enjoy the most.
Okay. So when you started the show, could you guess where it's going? Like as far as like the art style and all that, like art direction. I mean,
So, you mean the art direction or the arc?
arc.
Okay.
Yeah, like story.
So story wise, yes, kind of. Like, I mean, because you kind of got that from the very first episode. He set his goal.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm gonna find the demon that killed my family. I'm gonna get revenge on them from them killing my family, and I'm gonna turn my sister back to normal.
Okay.
So far, everything he has done in the 14 episodes I have seen has been in that regards.
Okay.
He is
And then
working himself in that direction every single time. So,
okay. And then as far as like the picture goes, you know there's gonna be a crew. So you start out with the two characters and then slowly they're gonna add one more and then one more and all that kind of stuff. So okay. Yeah, I can't remember if we guessed how the story was gonna play out. I can't remember what we said. That was 2 months ago, but
I mean, I will say that all in all, with this anime, I get a little concerned, especially when you had the guy with like the boar's head over there. I kind of think sometimes with these period piece kind of animes, kind of things like they do, they either tend to go way too serious or they put way too much comedy into it, and it tends to drag it down one way or the other. I think this, with the serious nature, because I mean, as we both know, in the very first episode, his family got killed, like slaughtered.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw the dead looks on their faces and the blood all over the place, that was pretty bad. But with the bit of the relationship between the brother and sister has a bit of comedy to it because they have that relationship.
Yes.
And with the little things that they're doing after that with the other characters, I feel like it is just the right amount of everything that this show is going to do phenomenal.
Nice.
So, story, even if it is predictable at certain points, isn't as predictable. You know, when because okay, we know eventually he's going to find the demon who killed his family, right? We know that it's going to happen. He's already come across him. Couldn't do anything about it when he did, but he's already come across him and finds out he's pretty far up there in the demon world, I guess you could say, kind of thing. And like it's like one of those things where it's like we knew that was going to happen, but how they did it kind of surprised me. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I like it. And then they could just be like, oh, demons with extra, strength, or they can regenerate, and they do these things and whatnot. But they have demons with extra powers too. Demons who do crazy things. Like one demon that they're fighting right now, I haven't seen the conclusion of it yet, but one demon they're fighting right now, the one in the house, literally the house is his world, and he has drums attached to his body, and whenever he hits one of the drums, rooms shift. Like you literally all of a sudden be on the ceiling at certain points. The room will spin forwards, backwards. Sometimes the rooms where you connect to don't connect to the same rooms where you came through from them.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Very
So
interesting.
that's like, holy crap! I didn't expect that to happen. Sure, So I appreciate, unlike the last one, for even though it had predictable moments and everything, I feel like this one brings more to the table.
Yeah.
As far as pretty much every aspect of what they do, the characters, the storyline, the methods in which they do things with, every little detail that they put into it, I feel like is more fleshed out and more well thought out for what they do than almost any other anime in this season. So that's why for me it's a really hard choice between this one and Shield Hero as far as who tops this season for me.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Yeah, I can't wait to get to this one because I love UFO Table. I think the two non fate series that I've watched from them are it was named after God Eater, and this one. I tried to watch the Sword Boys one, but I didn't get through it. I only watched the first episode. But yeah, UFO Table keep hitting it out of the park.
They really do. This for me is maybe the start of, I would say, UFO Table actually doing really good stuff. So, we continue like this, I'm happy.
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2.
So I know originally they said Season 3 Part 1, and so this was Season 3 Part 2. Are they doing Season 3 Part 3?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Are we doing a do-ra-ra-ra moment?
Oh, God. I'm like, just make it Season 5. And then Season 6. Like, this whole parts thing.
Yeah, but I mean, usually when it's something like that, it means that where they end on the previous one directly connects with the next one after that. Like it's a direct continuation. There's no time lapse. We're literally picking up exactly where we left off on the previous one.
Yeah, that's true. So if they did more after this next episode will be coming out in a couple days, if they did, there's no way they can tie up all those loose ends. Like,
so
no
I mean,
way.
We're guaranteed that there's going to be
more. No, there is more to the story. Whether they decide to button it up here and then do some more Titans on trains or whatever they've been doing, and then come back to this years later, then I can see that happening because I don't know how far the manga is or if there's even more to the manga that they need to tie up. But in the anime, there's a bunch of loose ends and less loose ends than there were before. But then they kind of cracked open another. They just cracked open another piece of the story, and I'm like, oh god.
So it almost seems to me like this would benefit more from because if that's the case, it almost seems like they're doing these cores simply because the manga hasn't wrapped it up yet. And if
Mm,
that was the case, would it benefit them more to wait until that happens?
mm. And do like how My Hero Academia is doing? That would be cool if it's like in the middle of every year, it's a 2 core chunk instead of like
Because
every
I don't
other one. But I don't know. That
just
pace is
just
kind of good too.
just to throw it out there, I just clicked on it on any chart,
Mhm.
and apparently they're slated for the final season of Attack on Titan fall of 2020.
Yep, that would make sense.
So apparently we're still not there yet.
Yeah,
We're still not there yet.
yeah, it'll be a
And
whole other year.
yeah, more than a year. Like a year and a half, basically, because we're waiting until the fall season of 2020.
All right, we just barely, we're not even in the
We're about to
spring
start
yet.
summer. We're
Yeah,
about to start summer.
yeah, we're in the summer. Okay.
So we're like a year,
Oh
like a year and
God.
a half. It's going to be a year and a half before they come out with the next one.
Wow.
But to its credit, I mean, like we were saying, if that's the case and if the manga can actually finish it up, I mean, it would probably be to its benefit to actually wait that amount of time to get the next one out instead of just doing these stupid little cores that they're doing. So that to me, if they're saying like that's going to be the case, it really does sound like that they were doing the cores to kind of break it up and try to get the manga out at the same time.
Yeah, I would say the old school way to do this was to start doing filler episodes. They're like, we gotta keep making episodes until the manga's ready. They just start throwing in empty episodes. But now they're like, nah, let's just do 12 and then wait and let's do some work on some Titans Untrained and do some other stuff and then come back to it when we have enough material.
Yeah.
So
Which
yeah,
I mean, I guess I kind of like better
yeah. Instead
because
of like
we're not just getting
Ninja Ostrich.
yeah. Or when it came to like what Naruto and all of its filler episodes.
Yep, Ninja Ostrich.
Mm-hmm.
Just make up whole brand new characters that aren't even part of the story at all.
Yep.
Uh, so let me see how.
So with knowing that that's going to be the case, you haven't watched the final episode, right?
No, I think it comes out like Monday or Tuesday or something like that.
So that being the case, if this next episode is the final episode, you know that whatever you're gonna see, it's gonna be leaving it on a cliffhanger.
I knew they were gonna button it up. There's too many loose ends for them to fit in the last episode, so I'm like, there has to be more. So yeah, I was already expecting that. But for me to know that, oh, they're gonna like really, really finish it up, I'm like, awesome. Now I can look forward to that and be like, cool, this is the final thing. And yeah, it's gonna be cool. So, would you recommend this show? After it's all done, you don't have to wait like years in between. Absolutely.
Oh, what do you talk about? You mean you don't want to do like the Helsing Ultimate thing where we're waiting like 10 years? Actually, I think it was probably a little more than that. I think it was at least 3 or 4 years between each episode for a total of like 20 years or something like that. Come on, you don't want to do that? Come on.
um, let's see. Who is this show for? It's for everyone who doesn't mind violent shows.
I was about to say. Anyone who doesn't mind a little bit of gore, some death and dismemberment,
Yeah.
So basically, anyone who likes anime past a certain age group.
Yeah.
This is your 13 and up kind of. Let's not get the little younger generations in on this yet.
Let's see. Didn't meet my expectations. So this show started before the podcast, I think.
Did it? Has it been going that long?
I want to say yeah, but I'm not sure. Because I remember watching it. I remember watching it at like Ray Ray's house, and let's see, the podcast started in 20. Oh no! Well, yeah. The podcast started in 2014, and this show started in April of 2013.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it started out a year before this whole podcast started, and it's going to be ending at the end of next year. So that's going to be kind of cool.
So this has been a 7-year series, essentially.
One thing that I want to do, kind of like the official announcement, is I want to do a deep dive spoiler cast. But probably sometime before the last season comes out, and then we'll do another one, or maybe invite them to do like a special segment for the end of it, so we can kind of talk about like, did all of our predictions happen and all that kind of stuff. So
it's been 7 years. I don't think I even remember half the predictions that I put on this thing.
Yeah, I don't think we'll basically. Well, I'm thinking predictions for like we'll go through like basically seasons 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll predict how they're gonna wrap, like put that bow on the end of it. And then when we
you're gonna make me watch all the other seasons again, because if we're gonna go a deep dive into something like that, I'm gonna need like details. I'm gonna need like details on this.
We can basically just take notes of the arcs and then kind of go through them, because if we have to do that, then nobody's gonna finish it in time before the next season comes out.
That's a year and a half away. That's a year and a half away.
That's not enough time for everybody to watch it. I can guarantee that. For everybody to rewatch the whole thing.
I will.
Okay.
I'm only 2 seasons in. Think about it that way. I'm only 2 seasons in. I haven't even started the 3rd season yet.
Okay.
And you're just finishing part 2? I mean, okay, so how many? Okay, so we got how many episodes? 25 episodes for the 1st season.
That's like 75 episodes.
Yeah, but I still have to watch the 3rd season anyways.
Yeah, but if you're basically just going to start from the beginning, that's 75 episodes to catch up.
12 episodes for season 2.
Only?
Only.
Okay, so that bumps it down to 50.
So 25, now that's 37. And come on, where's the other one at? Okay, so that was 12 episodes for the first part of season 3.
And then 10.
And then 10 episodes for this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, 10 episodes for this, really?
Yeah, it's weird.
So that was 10, 12. That's 22 for the third part, plus 12. That's 34.
25.
58 episodes altogether. From start to finish, 58 episodes. I could do that in a year and a half.
Okay.
I mean, it depends. If you're going to be like, I want to have this discussion at the end of the year, I'm going to be like, all right, that's going to be tricky.
So the thing is, 2 people who I want to have, maybe 3 people, they're waiting for the English.
Mm-hmm.
So however long that takes, plus however long it takes them to watch it, that's how much time I would like for everybody to have. So
Okay.
because I really want to deep dive this show. This is like the failed Dragon Ball Z episode. I want redemption.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. I think if I take it step by step, I could probably do it before the end of the year, probably.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. But I don't know.
Okay. So
It's 7 years of this, man. 7 years. So when it finally ends, fall of 2020, it'll have been 7 years, and we're thinking like what? How many episodes do you think the last season's gonna have?
like 12 or something. I should do another weird 10. I'm like, okay.
So we're already up to 54. So let's say average 12. So that's going to be 66 episodes. 7 years, 66 episodes? I don't know. I think they could have done, I don't know.
Yeah, they had to do the Titans on Trains, and then they had to do Attack on Titan Junior High, and then they had to do whatever other stuff they did.
Hey, I mean, I guess, sure. Still. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd still, I mean, because if you want to do a deep dive onto this thing, you're going to have to get some details on this.
Yeah, and basically,
Especially if you want to do like predictions from season to season on how things were going to go.
so basically, I want to bring up the conversation in the 3 arcs: season 1, season 2, season 3, and they kind of go through like different like high points and low points, and like what we thought, kind of like what we did for Dragon Ball Z. We basically went through. We did all of our favorite characters. Everybody went through and like talked about all our favorite characters, and then we went arc by arc. And then I lost 1/3 of the audio, and the episode's trashed.
Okay, so but I mean, yeah, if you're wanting to go arc by arc, you're gonna have to figure out. Yeah, I mean, it'll be better if I guess at least one of us has a good fresh memory on the whole thing.
I have a fairly fresh one because when season 3 started, I went back and watched the whole thing. I don't have the details, but I do remember like way more than I did.
Yeah, fair enough. So either way.
Yeah, and then Deep just started it like a couple months ago, and then Juan started a couple months ago too. So
gotcha.
They have fresh memories too. We need to get Cyborg's signature move. See if he wants to jump into it, because I think it's gonna be real cool.
It'll be interesting to see because they're watching the English version, right?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see a comparison between the English version and the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
How close are they in what they say?
Yeah. I wonder if that's going to pop up, because I feel like that's popped up before, where we had watched something, and then one of our guests watched it in English, and they said a phrase or something like that, and we're like, what?
Because, okay, so for this series, and as far as it goes, yeah, there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of action and dismemberment and death and everything, but the underlying storyline, there's a lot of conspiracy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like depending upon how well it was translated and how it came to the English version in comparison, there might be plot points that might not have come across, or maybe they did a bad and they didn't make these points as vague as maybe the Japanese version did, and they put it pretty much out there in front of someone's face.
Oh, they spelled it out, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I'm interested to see how that might go. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do like an abridged version of it. Who's your favorite character so far?
I guess that for right now, what I can think of, it would kind of be a toss-up between, get the characters here, Mikasa and Levi.
Wow. Yeah.
I'd say it's a toss-up between the two. And the only reason I don't put Aaron in there is,
Whiny little punk, man.
yeah, he's too wishy-washy for me. He's too wishy-washy.
He's inconsistent.
He is. If the moments that he's badass and he takes charge and gets things done, if he was consistent with that, he probably would be my favorite. But because he has all these moments where he doubts himself, where he doesn't know, he can't think what to do next, or he has emotional moments because somebody died that was protecting him. I just feel like there are too many of those moments for me to actually like him as a character.
Okay.
That's why, like with the guy from Demon Slayer, the blonde-haired guy that I was telling you about, if he doesn't change, I probably won't like him as a character. Because I hate those types of characters that are just like, yeah, you're in a battle moment, you're in a moment where you could die. Don't get me wrong, I get being emotional in that regards, but either you're gonna man it up and actually do what you got to do, and actually take charge and be like, you know what, we're gonna figure this out, or you're gonna die. You know. So given those options, I feel like given those options between the two, I feel most people would take the higher ground and be like, all right, we got to get this done. We're going to do what we got to do. And then too often in these characters, I get that they're trying to portray those human emotions and the self-doubt and the concern and worry for life and death and all that stuff. But God, I think they go overboard on it sometimes. So, yeah, Mikasa and Levi, I think, are probably my two.
Those are really two really good choices. Um, like first choice off the bat, I want to say Mikasa because
she's such a badass.
Yeah, but she's like kind of like two notes. She's like badass fighter, but dotes on it. Like then whenever she's not like destroying stuff, then she's like Aaron. I'm like okay. Then Levi.
Know her character from the previous season and how that came about, I would probably be a little less sympathetic in her in regards to that. But because I know why she holds such a candle for him and whatnot, and I know it's not necessarily as a love interest, but more of as a brother sister kind of thing, I can kind of be like, all right, yeah, we'll go with it. Because she hits that point. She's like, all right, you know what? We're not doing anything. Oh, Aaron, how you've taken care of yourself. Oh, everything's good. And then it's like Titans hit. She's out there and she's kicking some freaking ass. And woe to any Titan who happens to do anything to Aaron, because woe
is anybody. Titan
True.
or human.
True. She will mess anybody up.
Yeah. So then Levi. And then let's see. Also, badass fighter. Like top notch, 100%. I didn't know his other side until season 3. And he's a bit more human in my opinion now.
Mm-hmm.
And like everybody's a bit more human. Like the Irwin, the leader, he's a bit more human. You find out who certain Titans are, and then you know why they're doing what they're doing, and then like everybody's everybody's just like human in the sense of like they're not the good guy, they're not the villain. Everybody's just people, and they just happen to be on whatever side that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like in my head, I'm like, well then, whose side am I on now? It's like, I understand why you're doing that. It sucks for this person I like. But you did this. And then it's like, well, then you did this because they did that. And it's like, it may not be this person directly, but people who are in charge did that. So that's why you're doing this. And now that's why this person doesn't like you. And I'm like, I don't know. I hate you, the king.
Yeah.
So,
the one giving the orders.
Yeah. So, now some like, as far as like how I feel about every character, I'm kind of like a mess to a certain point because there's some characters that I don't know their side to yet, and they're just basically just doing stuff and stirring things up. And I'm like, I hate you because I already got a mess on the floor. You're just over there just stirring it around. I'm trying to sort it out, figure out what's what, and you're like just stirring it. I mean, you know what? Fine. So I hate when people stirring things up because you're making it harder to figure everything out. Some people I held in high regard, now that they've kind of like been brought down a couple pegs, they still hold that like position, but personality wise and like their motivations and everything, like it's on the same level as everybody else. Some of that to their detriment because there was a decision that needed to be made on the second to last episode, I think, or no, basically at the end of the latest arc. There was a couple episodes afterwards that kind of started building up the finale, but like I think 3 episodes before the end, that arc ended, and then the decision that was made right before that, I was 100% stuck because they're like, we either need to do this for this person or we need to do this for that person. And it was split 100% down the middle, and one person had to choose. And they're like, no, this and this and that. And he's like, I understand that. And he's like, but then this and this and that. And he's like, yeah, that too. And then he just picked one, and people were like, why did you choose that one? And he's like,
because there was no good choice.
Yeah.
I was screwed if I do, screwed if I don't.
Yeah. So once he like chose and explained his reasoning, I don't know, because it's like, for the sake of humanity and for the sake of people I like, but then the reason why it was for the sake of humanity is because of this person who's important. But because he's kind of been brought down some levels, he's just another guy. And the whole reason why I respected him was because he was up here. Like, this person I've spent the whole series with, like, almost every episode. And we can go with him, and he might be able to do the same things. He just doesn't have that position. So, I don't know. It's... I'm like, I don't know what y'all gonna pick. And then he went one way, and people were screaming, and he's like, "Everybody leave! I'm gonna make the decision." And then he chose, and I'm like, I don't know. It's. I did not think that this series would have a choice where I would like kind of just sit back and like debate. I'm like, because most of the time it's like, there's Titans, run, kill it, hide, and regroup, and half of us died, and we gotta go. And then this one was kind of like calm. It's just one person with two decisions. Everybody's like, we're gonna let you make the decision. We're all gonna go. And then me, I'm like, this is a rare time. Like most of the time, it's quiet because Titans are sneaking up on you.
Yeah.
And this was a rare situation where it wasn't that case. So, yeah, you can tell that it's the finale because a lot of cool and interesting situations are popping up. So I really liked this second core. The core before that, I'm trying to think what in season 2. They talked about the church stuff, right?
They barely started that on season 2.
Okay.
It was the end of season 2 that they started to mention the whole thing about the church, just because they found the Titan in the wall.
Yeah.
And that was how they ended season 2, was being like the church was trying to cover it up, basically.
Okay, cool. So season 3, part 1, basically clears everything up, except for like a few loose ends, and then season 3, part 2, clears up all those other loose ends, except for like maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, all right, in this finale, that's what's gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So who is my favorite character? Because everybody's kind of been on a level playing field, and because of that, like some characters who I admire, they're just a guy. And then some people who are like a regular person, they're like just as important as some of the people in charge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say Aaron because Aaron's kind of whiny. I don't want to say Armin because it's like he's confident, he's a really good strategist, but you have to push him to that limit before he comes up with the answers.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
And I know that you can't be like, Armin, give me the answer now, help! Like, I don't know.
I mean, he has to come up with it, but it's like he should already be considering what needs to be done even before then.
Yeah, he's not
you shouldn't have to like pretty much make it a do or die situation for him to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, we could do this, by the way.
Yeah. And it kind of puts him on like he's like a regular guy, just like he figures a lot of things out, like a whole lot. But he's not like a master strategist like some of the other characters that we come across in some of the series, where they're always looking.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this wealth of knowledge where they're like, I need that one clue. And like they have half of the answers, so we kind of feel like we're on the path, and then that one thing will click and it's like, oh, now we do this, and then the day it's same. With Armin, we're like, okay, let's we're killing Titans, or we're running away from Titans, or we're like, everybody's dying from Titans, and then Armin's like, oh, look, this thing, let's do that, and then he's like, he saved the day, and the half of us that are left.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's a good resource, but we can't rely on him all the time. Like, we need somebody we need somebody like Irwin, who doesn't have the answers, but he has a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the plan's like, we're just gonna head north, and you're like, to where? He's like, north. It's right
that
north.
direction.
Yep, right north. And then something happens, and he's like, all right, I got a plan now. He's like, he's kind of like Army, where he's like,
see, but so the difference between the two, I guess, the biggest difference is that Irwin, he will make a decision and he'll just go with it.
Yeah.
Be like, this is what we're gonna do. I don't care. This is what we're gonna do. Do you think about it? I don't care. This is what we're gonna do. Armin's like, I don't know what we're gonna do. He can't make that decision.
Yeah, and that's why Irwin's the leader of the Scouts, and Armin is a resource.
Yeah.
So, yes, I can't pick Irwin because not reliable enough. Can't pick Irwin because he's like it gives you that stare, like he's watching you. These big blue eyes, like just. And I'm like, I didn't do nothing. Stop. Like, I think my favorite character is Hanji.
Hanji?
The crazy scientist girl that had the two Titans as
oh God, her? Why is she your favorite character?
So she's weird, which is interesting. But
that shouldn't be the basis of anything as far as that goes.
There's multiple. Like, there's another female character, like what the potato girl.
Okay, she's quirky.
Okay.
Potato girl's quirky. She has a quirk. She likes potatoes. She wants to eat potatoes. Sasha, by the way. She wants to eat potatoes. The doctor over there is freaking naming Titans and then has a mental breakdown when they die. Why did you die? Who did this to you? And I'm like, they're Titans. Probably deserved it. You had to they had to freaking console her when those two Titans died. I'm like, why? Just go get Tim Moore and call it good. I'm like, oh God. And even the guys that were with her were like, oh God, she's gonna name him. Here she goes. I remember that they're just like, she's gonna name him something weird. Yep, here it goes. They knew what she was gonna do. So it wasn't even the first time she's done that. I'm just like, God.
So that's part of the reason why I like that character. The potato girl, the one thing that like I started noticing towards the end is when everything was finalizing like the last couple loose ends and everything. Potato girl was hurt, and like she was laying like all bandaged up and everything, and like the first scene that you see her in, somebody's like, "Oh, here, drink this water," and then like you don't see her for a while, and then it cuts to her again later on, and she's like in a hospital bed, like eating apples. And then she goes away for a while, and then cut back to her, and she's like eating something else. And I'm like, is that just gonna be the end of her character arc? Like, she's just in the background eating every single time you see her. Like, does she have nothing important to do?
I get that though. Like, I get that, because just like we were talking about with Sword Art, where they're like, hey, we're gonna die potentially. You want to get married? She's like, I don't know when I'm gonna die, but the possibility is going to be good that I probably will. I want to be eating or have something. I don't want to miss out on a meal just because of that, because I might die. I get that. Like, I get that. I'm okay with that. Doctor, on the other hand, she's something else.
Yeah. So, what was it? So after she stops having pets, um, they start looking for, like, they start going after this one goal. They basically, the whole story does a big circle, and we end up where the first Titan put his hand over the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this big thing that happens, and um, there's so many characters that could possibly die, and I was upset because I'm trying to figure out like who I like, and
See, you should never do that because you and I both know whoever you like is gonna die.
I know, and I'm
You
like,
you said this a long time back when I first met you, and we started talking about animes. The very first time we talked about it, you were like, I can't have a favorite character because whoever my favorite character is in anime, they're gonna die regardless. Even if it is an anime where they would die, they're still gonna die. And so far, you've been correct ever since then. So don't have a favorite character in here because they're gonna die.
they're gonna die or be very badly hurt. Like even in Grisaya, when what was it? When none of the main characters are supposed to get hurt. My character lost both her legs and ended up in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Wait, which character was that?
one of the characters with pink hair, and I can't. I think, yeah, something happened and she lost both her legs. I was like, no, not again. But yeah. So when the doctor is not going crazy with her doc scientist stuff,
Maybe I haven't gotten to that point.
yeah, the reason why she's on the scouts is because she's a capable cadet, not cadet. She's a capable soldier, and there's no like at this point, there's no time to be doing experiments. It's kill or be eaten, and she's showing off her skills, and I'm like, oh.
So okay, so that's the thing. The reason why she is your favorite character is because I've only seen her in the experimental stage. The only time I can recall her actually being in the forefront of any battle situation was when they were going to capture that one Titan. And she was there because that was her machines that they were using in order to do that with. But beyond that, yeah, that's all I've ever seen of that character is just her experimental stage, and where I'm just like, oh god, you have some brain cells loose somewhere because holy crap. I get you're in a highly stressful situation, but you lost something somewhere along the way. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah. Out of everybody else, I can't think of like I don't know. There's like two sides, and like everybody has two levels now. They have their like soldier level and their personal level, and like she's the only character that I like both. So I'm like, yeah.
I might like her in a soldier sense if I see more of that. Personal level, she is freaking weird.
Yeah, I can't wait to see like everybody else's opinions whenever we get to the thing, because I'm curious who everybody else would like to. All right. So, what is my favorite part? Man, I don't know. It's like there's so many like crazy new things that pop up. Like starting in season 3, you're like, oh, I didn't know this existed. Oh, I didn't know that existed either. And I'm like, what in the world? You know what? Have you seen the Beast Titan?
Yes.
I would say he is my favorite Titan. Like
the giant monkey.
Yes.
Yes, I have seen him.
Like he was throwing horses. He's throwing giant rocks. He started throwing handfuls of crumbs. Just
wait, handfuls of what?
You'll see in season 3, part 2.
Okay. Like you say crumbs, and I'm like, so the bits and remains of people that he killed? Is this like the equivalent to monkeys throwing poo or something? I mean, what are we doing here? God, can you imagine that?
As soon as you said, I was like, no, anything but that.
If you had to die in a situation, that would be the most horrible. To forever have it known that you died from having giant poo flung at you. Yeah, your ancestor's ancestor, years and years later. How did Uncle Joseph die? Well, he fought in the Great War of Titans. And then apparently he died from a large thing of poo that was flung at him.
He was killed by the biggest turd you've ever seen.
The splat that thing made, let me tell you. It was heard from miles around. He never even saw it coming. But we smelled it afterwards, that's for sure.
It took centuries for the smell to go away. But you see that largest tree? That's where it happened.
We had to light fires around his body for the next 6 months just to make sure that it dissipated.
But yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've discussed giant monkeys flinging poo, I think that's the pinnacle of discussion that you could absolutely have anywhere else. I mean, come on. Death by poo.
Yeah. I would say that because there's things that top it's the thing after thing after thing after thing, and I can't. They're all awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. That's it for that. Season 3, part 2. I can't wait until everybody gets caught up so we can do the deep dive because there's a lot of stuff I wanna go into. So the last show, and probably the best show of the season, is The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Oh boy. Yeah. My goodness. Are you completely caught up?
Yep.
This just seemed to be like the thing of the more questions we get answered, the more questions that we have.
Yeah.
The more solutions that we find, the more problems that crop up, and we're just like, oh boy.
Would you recommend this?
Highly.
To everybody.
Highly recommend it. If you enjoy anime, get your butt in here.
Who is this show for? Absolutely
everyone.
Anime fan.
Yeah.
Whether you like fantasy or not, this show transcends genre.
It does. It really does. And I think a lot of that is based upon the characters.
Yes.
The characters themselves are so relatable. And whether or not you actually feel personally for the characters, or you know somebody who you can actually personally relate to the characters in some way, shape, or form or aspect, you feel a connection to them. So, to me, I'm my hat's off to these to the creators and to the studio for making just such an amazing anime for sure. And this is Cinema Citrus too, or Kinema Citrus.
Yeah, Kinema Citrus, they made one of my absolute favorite fantasy anime, and that's Made in Abyss. Um, this show doesn't hit me as hard as that show does, but it is like not a big fan of fantasy. This one and Made in Abyss, I'm like they are on my like top fantasy list, 100%.
Oh, I mean, and they also did Barakamon too, so that. See,
Yeah.
that to me is like, that they can do characters,
Oh,
because that's all Barakamon was about, was just the characters, literally all it was about, and the fact that, huh?
Who would have thought you could make an anime about calligraphy artists?
Exactly, exactly. And I think what else? There was another one that I know of that they. Oh, Black Bullet too. I thought that was a good one too. I mean, that was dark in a lot of ways, but I thought it was still good.
I don't think I actually finished that one.
So
Yeah,
I feel like this studio is one of those that whatever team that they currently have working for them right now, there's probably not a genre that they couldn't tackle.
oh yeah.
I feel like that and honestly, I would put them up there with any of the big name companies out there, any other production companies, because yeah, they do an amazing job. Um, the artwork is phenomenal for what they're doing. I always enjoy even though it's an isekai and they don't, so Rise of the Shield Hero, it's an isekai, but it does not beat you over the head that it is an isekai. A lot of times you could probably put Naofumi in this world and it would not make, like, if he had came from this world originally, it almost would not seem like he was out of place, kind of thing.
Yeah, like if instead of him being transported there, like
if he was just like from another part of this world or something like that, it would almost make the same amount of sense to me.
Like what was that other anime where people had the crest and there's supposed to be only 6 of them and there was like 7 or something like that?
Oh yeah, I remember which one you're talking about.
Braves, 6 Braves, something.
Yeah, I think
Roka no Yusha, and then whatever the English name is. Yeah. So if like at a certain time you get this crest, and then you go to a certain place and you get the powers of a hero, you get the weapon and everything, just like that. If it would have happened that way, then it would have been a pure fantasy, and I think it would have still been just as good.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that one hero dies, then somebody else could get the crest, and they inherit the power, and they inherit basically the legacy that the last hero passed down.
But there is so much. Oh God, okay. So thinking about it this way. So first off, these guys, they call them the Cardinal Heroes.
Uh-huh.
There's 4 of them.
Uh-huh.
Thinking about it that way, that's the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Now, towards the end of this first season, because we know that there's going to be another season for this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
There's going to be another season for this thing. But towards the end of this first season, they brought upon another concept, that there are more heroes. Now, these heroes have ulterior motives. I think either they have ulterior motives or they might have deeper knowledge of this world than the Cardinal Heroes do. So that to me, I'm a little. That's one of my questions. It's like, where do their allegiances lie? What's going on with them, more or less?
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, I don't know if it's the translation as far as that goes, but it seems to me like they come from another world, and the world that they come from is the one that's in danger.
Yes.
And unless they destroy this world that he's in, their world will die.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting from that.
Yeah.
It's
And
it's either it's either that, or there's something deeper with this world that they Cardinal Heroes and us as the audience still don't know about.
yes.
So I'm a little curious if it's they're trying to still save this world, but they know something more than what the other heroes do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to kind of guess like what. So if we were one of the other heroes, um, whenever the time,
See, there's something more with these waves.
yeah,
There is something more with these waves than what we have been led to believe and understand.
yeah, and towards the end, after like a few different waves, a person came out because all the waves at the beginning were just monsters,
Yeah.
and um, once that person came out, we're like, okay, is this person behind the waves? And later on, you end up coming across two people who are way stronger than you would normally think. And then you realize that they are from a different world, but they got here not in the same way as the other lady.
But I don't know. I don't know if it was the same or it was different.
Because they were there when the wave wasn't happening, and she only showed up when the wave happens.
But I don't know if it's just because she's only focused on the wave, or if it's because,
Oh, she only comes during the wave because she didn't have help or something?
well, if she only comes during the wave, not because she's a part of the wave, but only because she cares not for anything else besides the wave. Like okay, so the other two that came out later on, they were more invested with trying to level themselves up.
Yeah.
They
And
wanted
they
to
had a
gain they wanted to gain power. They wanted to get stronger.
yeah, and they had a grudge with the shield hero specifically.
I don't know if they have a grudge specifically with the Shield Hero. I think they just have a grudge with, if they have a grudge with the Shield Hero, it's only because Glass was had already come in contact with the Shield Hero and had
Uh,
proven that she had been not necessarily defeated, but at least been bested by the Shield Hero.
oh, so they're like, you're ruining our plan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
I don't think it's
okay,
anything. See, that this is the hardest thing about this thing is they are kind of the bad guys, but they're not necessarily the bad guys.
yeah,
You know, we don't know what their motives are. There's some underlying thing going on here that nobody knows anything about, but it's been hinted at.
okay,
Because here's the other thing too: the queen, the Fiola queen, the bird,
yeah, yeah.
she mentioned something. She said at some point further on down the line, the heroes are going to have to make a choice. They're going
Uh,
to have to make a choice. And their choice
save the
will
world or save
decide.
people.
We still don't know what that entails.
Uh,
So hold on. if saving the people came down to it, what if what they meant by saving the people is taking the people that were on this world and having to maybe take them to like our world? You know what I mean? Because maybe if you don't save the world itself is going to explode or something. It's going to self-destruct. So you can save the people by getting them out of the path of this basically destruction, or you can save the world, and maybe by doing so, you just reset the clock and people will die. I almost think that the heroes, so Glass and the other two that we've come across, I almost feel like, because they've mentioned that they were heroes, but they didn't mention, because in my mind when they said cardinal heroes originally, I tend to think that Glass and the rest of them aren't cardinal heroes, but they're like, instead of being north, south, east, and west, they're northeast or southeast, or you know what I mean? They're like in between heroes. But if instead of it being like that, what if these were cardinal heroes originally? What if they were the original set of cardinal heroes done differently? And instead of, they got different weapons and whatnot, and they made a different choice. They made a different choice, and now it's circled back around. And now new heroes have been chosen, and eventually they're going to have to make a choice.
The cardinal heroes that we have in the current world, aren't they from different times?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That that would make sense if time isn't related. Because we haven't seen basically one of them's a magic caster. We don't have a magic caster. The other dude is a scythe.
Mm-hmm. And then the chick was the fans.
So they're not equal.
I don't know. They could be. They
so
could
maybe
because here's the thing: the current cardinal heroes that we have, the only one who's actually doing his job and actually living up to that is Naofumi, the shield hero. The other three, they haven't. Because here's the thing: remember when they were discussing their individual quirks or whatever they could do? Each one of them started arguing about what the other could do. They're like, no, I don't do that. I do this instead. I make this because I see the menu in front of me, and this is what I can do. And it wasn't until Naofumi believed them that all of them appeared in front of him.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not wrong individually. You're right individually. You just need to believe the other ones, and what they see, you'll see.
Yeah.
But they can't do that. They're too pig-headed. They're too stubborn. They don't do that. So because of that, I think they're weaker than what they could be.
Well, I was thinking more one-to-one, as in there's 4 of our cardinal heroes, and then in that other world there's 4. So right now we got 3.
We're still missing one. I believe we're still missing one. So I believe that we will see another person.
Do you think we're gonna see the guy that's in the flashbacks from the Queen?
I don't know. He was a shield, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I wouldn't think so, because then they would have said something. You're like, oh,
so
you're like,
here's the thing. I think a lot of this is going to hinge on the waves. We know next to nothing about these waves, why they exist, what is it that they're doing. why there's a time limit. There's a lot of information about these waves that they're not telling us.
What is up with those ugly dragon clock things?
See, there's more going on here. There's a whole lot more going on here.
Yeah, and there was
I
one
honestly
underwater.
I honestly think that we're only getting like maybe even a quarter of the full story. We're barely scratching the surface, is what I feel like. And
And
there's a lot
how?
more going on underneath. And that's the reason, like, those other heroes, they know more. They're just, I think, because of the situation that they're in, they're not willing to divulge that because that would be counterproductive for what they need to do.
Yeah, I was really liking for the moment that it worked. The how they were like giving out information. And they're like, oh yeah, you can do that thing that you've been doing the hard way. You can do it easier. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh really? And they're like, oh, you're so stupid. And then you can do this. And he's like, oh really? And they're like, God, he's such a dummy. And I'm like, come on, just get to the next step so we can end this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
God.
But at the same time, he's way stronger than any of them are.
Oh yeah.
Even if you take away his support, he is way stronger than any of them are. So I'm
I really like the way that this story is so lopsided and bent up because if they're the queen said that there's each one is supposed to be in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are there four clocks?
I think there's more than 4 clocks. I think there's more than 4 clocks.
Okay, that would make sense. Then how many? I'm like, how big is this world? Like, how big of an area does the thing have?
I think this next season is going to be about information. We need more information. See, they need more information to understand, but then again, we need more information too.
Yeah.
And we're only getting what they're getting. So they need more information. And now Fumi is probably the best one to really start realizing that and seeing that. Now that his world has been expanded and he's been told things like, hey, there are other dragon clocks around this world and you guys were not supposed to be bundled up together. I think he's going to start branching himself out and he's going to see that.
And how do these like individuals like amass so much power and disrupt the world so much? Because it's like the king is like, we got all the heroes, and then the Pope was like, I got this thing that I can like destroy a half the like this giant area with. It's
well, if you think about it in that way, okay. So the fact that the heroes were never supposed to be together, and the fact that they're called cardinal heroes, makes complete sense. Cardinal heroes, they're cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. They need to be separate because they're directions. They're completely separate from each other.
Yeah.
Not only that, but when they're together, they don't earn any experience. They negate each other.
Right.
So there's no reason why they should be together. They have every reason in the world not to be together.
Didn't they say that at the beginning? That's why they split up into teams?
Yep. But they tried to play that off. The king knew, but he tried to play it off.
So...
And now the king, what they said as far as the reasons why he did that was because because he was too fearful of the waves. So the king understood like the reasoning behind the waves and what it represented and how bad they were. He wanted all the cardinal heroes there for protection, essentially.
Yeah.
He wanted to have the security of having all the heroes there, so that way, no matter what hero they might have gotten saddled with, they still had the bulk of the power there.
Yeah, and he's like, as soon as the queen leaves, oh, you're going to a meeting? Perfect.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
Um, oh God, I know I have a feeling it's not gonna happen, but I would so like it if he Naofumi actually gained control over the raid shield. I would love to see that happen. He has minimal control, but it always ends up kind of pseudo backfiring on him in a way.
yeah,
And he has to be brought back down by his support.
his burnt up parties.
Yeah. Well, or either that or his newest ability where he pretty much has to mortally wound himself in order to actually cause that to happen.
Yeah, that's
Like, I want to see him actually gain full control over it. I would love to see that. I have a feeling it's not going to happen, but I would still love to see it because the way they set it up at this point, with how many times he's had to be brought back from the edge like that,
yeah,
I just don't feel like he's going to get to that point where he's actually going to master it. Um, I still love the aspect, like they have it in the picture right there, of the gaming quote unquote aspect of it. Not just with like his them gaining experience points and stuff like that and leveling up and he sees the menu, but even like when he has his shield and the different styles of shield, like he has in that picture that you have there, where all the little options are available to him
yeah,
and the branches that he can take from that. I love that.
yeah,
You know, it takes you away from that fantasy and puts you more into the isekai, but I still love that.
yeah. One thing I kind of want to go back to the king. He keeps talking about the shield here. The shield hero did something to his family.
Yeah, he does. And
He
they really
has,
haven't explained that.
yeah. He almost said something.
He did, but he was stopped, of
Uh,
course.
God, it bugs me. I feel like that's good. I feel like uh,
It's one
I
of
don't
those
know.
things where we know there's more. Like I said, there's more going on. There's more of the story that we're not being told, and I'm kind of waiting for the point when Naofumi's going to kind of think about that too.